All right, let's get right into it. We're going to sail past all the fun and adventure of the Grand Line and dive straight into the deep, dark, murky waters underneath. We're talking about the most chilling theories in the One Piece world, the stuff that lurks just below the surface. So let's do this.
You know the words. Everyone knows the words. These are the legendary last words of the Pirate King himself, Gol D. Roger. The words that kicked off the entire Great Pirate era, right? A whole generation of pirates took to the seas, all searching for this one thing he left behind, what they thought was the world's greatest treasure. But here's the thing that's always been weird, the part that just doesn't add up. When Roger and his crew finally get there, when they reach Laugh Tale and find the One Piece, they don't cheer. There's no celebration. No, they laughed. They laughed until they were literally crying. I mean, why? What could possibly be that funny?
That laugh, that's the whole key to this mystery. So today, that's what we're digging into. What could be so completely world-shattering, so mind-bendingly absurd that the only thing you can do is laugh hysterically?
Okay, so let's just throw this out there. What if the One Piece isn't gold? What if it's not a pile of jewels? What if it's the truth? Not just any truth, but a story. The complete, horrifying, unabridged history of the entire world. A truth so dark, so messed up, that it's almost a cosmic joke. So, if it is a dark history, where do we even begin?
Well, our first stop has to be the people in charge, the world government. And, the mountains of sins they're probably hiding to keep their whole empire from falling apart.
Look, we all remember what happened to Ohara, right? An entire island of scholars completely wiped off the map just because they dared to look into the past. But here's a terrifying thought. What if Ohara wasn't a one-time thing? What if it was just the latest example? A pattern of mass genocide that's been going on for centuries, all to protect one giant lie. And that brings us right to the Void Century. We're talking about 100 years of history that's just gone. Poof. Vanished from all the records. The official line is, oops, we don't know what happened. But come on. A really powerful theory says this wasn't some peaceful, forgotten era. It was an all-out, globe-spanning war. So you've got two completely different stories here. The official one, the fairy tale, is that a peaceful alliance got together and formed the world government for the good of all. Then there's the dark theory. A bunch of ruthless conquerors won a brutal war, annihilated their enemy, and then spent centuries meticulously erasing every single shred of evidence that they ever existed. So you gotta ask, right? Who benefits from everyone forgetting history? Who's sitting pretty at the top of this whole house of cards, totally protected by this lie? Yep, the Celestial Dragons. The guys who call themselves gods. This theory says that whole divinity thing is just marketing. A really, really old PR campaign. Their ancestors weren't some noble heroes. They were the tyrants who won that war 800 years ago, and they built their entire legacy on a foundation of slavery and unimaginable cruelty. Okay, so a corrupt government. We can almost wrap our heads around that. But what if it's more than that? What if all the strings are being pulled by one single hidden entity? Who is really in charge? Deep in the heart of Mary Geoise, there's the empty throne. It's supposed to be this big symbol of equality, proof that no single king rules the world. But we know that's a lie, because that throne isn't empty. The name is Aimu, just a silhouette, a shadowy figure whose very existence is the biggest secret on the planet. I mean, this is someone that the five elders, these so-called highest authority in the world government, literally kneel to. Okay, so wait, how does one person rule for, 800 years? Well, the theory goes that it's all thanks to the Op fruit, the Op no Mi. It has this ultimate power, the eternal youth surgery. The catch? The user sacrifices their own life to make someone else immortal. The theory is that 800 years ago, someone did that for Imu. And just like that, you've got an immortal, secret god king who's been pulling the strings ever since. Think about it. An immortal ruler pulling the strings for 8 centuries? They're not just going to be rewriting history books. They would be shaping reality itself. And this is where things get really, really unsettling. Suddenly, the whole world looks different. That giant, impossible continent, the red line, what if it wasn't natural? What if it was built on purpose, to divide the world and control everyone? And then you have devil fruits. One of the absolute darkest theories out there says that their power comes from a truly horrific source, human souls, that people were sacrificed to create them, which would actually explain why the sea itself, the source of all life, rejects anyone who eats one. It's like the ocean knows they're carrying something deeply, fundamentally unnatural.
And you know what? We might have already seen proof of this stuff in action. Think about Blackbeard. How in the world did he steal Whitebeard's devil fruit power? The theory is just chilling. It wasn't some trick. He killed him, straight up. It suggests that to get another devil fruit power, you have to perform some kind of dark ritual that involves murdering the previous user, which, if true, makes Blackbeard even more of a monster than we thought.
Okay, that's a lot of huge, world-ending stuff. But let's bring it back down to our guy. How does all this darkness, affect the journey of Monkey D. Luffy?
Before we get to Luffy, we have to talk about Joy Boy. We hear that name whispered like a myth, right? Some great hero from the Void Century. But what if he wasn't a hero who won? What if he was the leader of that ancient kingdom we talked about, the one that got erased? What if he lost the war? That means his failure kicked off 800 years of suffering for the entire world. That's a heavy legacy for Luffy to inherit. And that brings us to Luffy. I mean, the guy is literally burning his own life force as fuel. You've got his gears, which take a massive toll on his body, and then you have the hormone treatments he got from Ivankov back in Impel Down. That took years off his life right there. He is actively trading his lifespan for the power to achieve his dream, and that puts him on the exact same tragic path as Roger, who found the One Piece knowing full well he was on death's door.
So let's put the pieces together. We've got a secret history of genocide, an immortal tyrant ruling from the shadows, a world literally built on sacrifice, and a hero who seems doomed to follow a tragic path. Let's take all that and finally answer the big question. This is it. This is the story waiting at Laugh Tale. It's not just one of these things, it's all of them. The truth that the entire world was founded on mass genocide. The truth that an immortal dictator secretly calls all the shots. The truth that devil fruits, the very source of power, are fueled by human souls. That the red line is a man-made prison wall. And the final crushing truth, that the only way to change any of it is for the next hero to sacrifice their own life.
So no, the One Piece isn't a chest full of gold. It's not some ancient weapon. It's the truth. The full, ugly, unvarnished, absolutely horrifying truth of the world. It's a story. And it's a story so powerful it could bring the entire world to its knees.
And that brings us right back to where we started, to that laugh. Can you imagine? You spend your whole life, you risk absolutely everything for the ultimate prize, only to find out that the prize is the punchline to the sickest, cruelest joke ever told. A joke that's been playing out for 800 years, with the whole world as the butt of it. When you're faced with an absurdity that huge, that cosmic and terrible, what else is there to do? What else could you possibly do but laugh?